Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Coffee and Contemplation brought to you by Spotlight Recovery. It is April 26th, and here we go. I love this topic a lot. It's this perspective definitely changed my life in recovery, and I remember when I had the moment and the epiphany of it, and it was just so cool. So we're gonna get into that and see if we can help coach you a little bit to get there too. April 26th. Happiness is not the point. I don't think happiness or unhappiness is the point. How do we meet the problems we face? How do we best learn from them and transmit what we have learned to others, if they would receive the knowledge? From As Bill Sees It, page 306. In my search to be happy, I changed jobs, married and divorced, took geographical cures, and ran myself into debt, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. In AA, I'm learning to grow up. Instead of demanding that people, places, and things make me happy, I can ask God for self-acceptance. When a problem overwhelms me, AA's 12 steps will help me grow through the pain. The knowledge I gain can be a gift to others who suffer with the same problem. As Bill said, when pain comes, we are expected to learn from it willingly and help others to learn. When happiness comes, we accept it as a gift and thank God for it. Also from As Bill Sees It, page 306. And so this is from the AA Daily Reflections. Oh man. So there's a lot of good points in here, and there's just another one that stands out for me the most from my experience, and so we're going to get there. But just this concept of happiness is not the point. That was such a motivator, a driver for me in recovery, in everyday life, even in addiction, even frankly for a big bunch of it. That was always the goal and the focus was just happy. I want to be happy. I need to be happy. That's the goal. How do I find happiness? And in doing so, and in having that mentality and that perspective, I was really setting myself up for failure because you find so much more. Like, we are complex creatures that are able to understand and experience this massive breadth of emotions. And so if you're looking for happiness, you are going to be experiencing tons of other things in the way. And if happiness is the goal, then happiness now becomes that needle in the haystack. And all of these other emotions and everything that you could be experiencing and feeling, you are just rifling through and trying to throw them out of the way just to dig through to try to get what you want. And life doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And I'm sure we've all learned and had our experiences around this on this endless breadth of emotions that we can experience through life and all of these other things that we can have. And happiness being a part of it, being one of the best and greatest ones. And it's not that only one, it's not the only one that is good or worth finding or worth striving for. So in this first quote here from Bill, not thinking that it's the point, how do we meet the problems we face? How do we best learn from them and transmit what we have learned to others? So just talking about these other perspectives in life and just why we go through things, why we experience things. This is some pretty big thinker stuff today we're going to get into a little bit. It's a little more abstract and out there, not quite so linear, but I really enjoy it. So just this perspective of like other points of life, other reasons to be living in recovery and striving for more and to do and be better. These questions being a part of it, some of those contributors to this of saying, okay, well, if it's happiness is not the point, then what is it? What are we looking for beyond that, right? And that's what they're asking through this. And something that I had to ask myself as well, when I realized that just striving for happiness all the time is unobtainable, unrealistic, and then therefore unfair to myself. Well, where do I go from here? What do I do instead? So this is a great one of many examples and first points to talk about that he does. How do we meet the problems we face? How do we learn from them and share that knowledge with other people, right? How do we learn from problems? How do we develop? How do we grow? How do we teach? So many other experiential parts of life that he's talking about, which are just great. And also were so unattainable for us in addiction. For a lot of us, it really was for me. We avoided so many of these things, couldn't show up to them, couldn't handle them, couldn't do them. Or like we were talking about yesterday in that reflection about like rushing through life and being a rush to do things. We were so hyper focused on certain things, typically addiction or anything that's going to feed our addiction, that we miss out on all these other things of life that are happening. We miss out on all these other experiences and don't know what else can be there for us, what else our life can look like, because we're just so focused on feeding the addiction instead, or just to try to be happy, right? So I like then it talks about a little bit more about, no, not Bill, so then somebody else's story. They're talking about the things they did on their search for happiness, which I think a lot of us can relate to. I mean, we all have our own, oh, my nose, oh, my good Lord, woo, oh, wow. Oh, pardon me. Oh, that's a good one. Just what their search for happiness looked like. And we all have our version of that. You know, I love it. Changing jobs, marrying, getting divorced, traveling, and then spending beyond what we had, or then trying to work to pay off what we have spent. And then not even just financially, they're talking about as well, emotionally and spiritually too. These different ways that we run ourselves into debt or bankruptcy on this search. And so if you are searching to be happy, and that's the sole focus, since we know that that is unattainable and not something that you can sustainably do all the time, then we know that you are going to run yourself into the ground doing it. Like you're chasing after a unicorn. And so you're just going to burn yourself out trying to accomplish something that cannot be accomplished. It's not something you can do. You just won't be happy all the time. That can't be that baseline go-to feeling. And so I like that they mention that and just talk about it, right? These are hard truths to hear and to realize and to look at, but they're so important that we do. One of the main reasons is because in addiction, we avoid so much of life. We sweep it under the rug. We ignore it. We get blackout. We like level of intoxicated, so we have no idea what's going on. Or same behaviorally as well. You can get into such a trance and such a different behavioral feeling and high and chasing this other dragon that you are entirely missing what is going on around you. We're living in this attempted fantasy circus for happiness, which all for addicts always ends up bad. Sooner or later, we all get to that same place. So, going through this process of then accepting this truth, looking at this reality of our situation, of how life really works and how things operate and all of that, is so much more of now a recovery-oriented behavior, because it's the opposite of addiction in this sense, where before we were ignoring, avoiding, hiding all of that. Now we're just facing it head on. We're looking at this head on and then having this question and then this so-called dilemma. And that's what it talks about in that quote. How do we best learn from our problems? Okay, so here's this now seeming problem. Here's a way that life's going to go that I didn't want or expected. Now what do I do with it? Right? So I really like that they go this path in this reflection and talk about this. And so then they start answering that. This person does precedingly here. In AA, I'm learning to grow up. I'm asking God for self-acceptance. I'm no longer demanding and trying to make other people, places, and things make me happy. I'm not trying to look for the things outside of me to fix the things that are inside of me. I'm not trying to look for external things to then change my emotions and my feelings. When a problem overwhelms me, the steps in this process help me go through the pain. The knowledge I gain can be a gift to others who suffer with the same problem. And they're kind of re-quoting the first quote here. When pain comes, we are expected to learn from it willingly and help others to learn. And then the last one, happiness comes, we accept it as a gift and thank God for it. So they're taking a lot more of the approach of experiential learning, understanding that life's gonna life, and then ultimately it's what do you do with that? How do you choose to respond and behave to this to help then give you these new experiences, teach you these skills, grow, learn, so you become teachable and then become in a place where you can teach this to others. So in a lot of ways, this is all beautiful. It is a very important point of life. I'm not going to say it's the point, but it's like top 3, I would think, for me and for my experience. You decide for yourself. I'm literally making a career out of doing that, so here I am. But I like those points that they talk about. What it is for me and the realization that I had with all of this, and rather than trying to search for happiness, was to find contentment. Just to be content. Find some peace of mind. Just be okay. Just be okay. Just be okay with what's going on. Be okay with how I feel, with whatever life throws at me, whatever changes come my way. Because like we said, life's going life. Being able to be okay with that no matter what. Finding that peace and contentment. Those are the words that really resonate for me. That was that epiphany I'd had in rehab. I remember I was sitting and talking to one of the counselors about it, and I'd shared this with her. I was just like, look, I think I figured something out. Like, I want to talk to you about this. And I shared it with her. I remember, and she was just like, yes, oh my God, thank you. Well, how we need to tell everybody this. Like, she was like, so I saw that like eureka response from this counselor, from me having this eureka moment for myself. It was great. It was very profound. It was very powerful. It was a great thing to go through. I still remember it so vividly to this day. It was like over 12 years ago now. And I just remember that. And that was so cool. So just having that and that realization, that brought me, ironically, so much peace. That understanding then almost immediately helped me get to that place that I actually want to be looking for more. Maybe that was something I was actually looking for. I just didn't realize it. Or I mislabeled it as happiness. Maybe, I don't know. But just that understanding of, for me, contentment and peace of mind is the point. Those things have brought me so much solace and so much more comfort and enjoyment out of life. I think just that perspective really worked for me, and it's so much more of an attainable thing to do. It's so much more practical. It's so much more applicable. It's so much easier to find and use and connect with my everyday life. And so that's what I really like and enjoy out of that. That's what really like connects for me, just with all of this stuff. And so then the last bit with it, and then this is now where happiness becomes the cherry on top. And it says it in the last line here in this reflection. When happiness comes, we accept it as a gift and thank God for it. When I have this perspective then of looking for contentment, striving for peace and peace of mind, then when happiness does come, that becomes so much more enjoyable. That becomes an added bonus. That becomes something I get as a byproduct of looking for something else. It's kind of the same way of like joy is a byproduct of gratitude. So when I'm looking for and aiming to be grateful, that is how now I feel joy or happiness. So that's another great little lesson, tidbit, life hack, whatever you want to call it in here. Rather than striving for happiness, instead strive for gratitude. Try to be grateful instead. You be grateful for who you are and what you have, where your life is. you then are able to be more present and realize these things that are a part of your life and what's coming up and in with all of this. That now will naturally create joy. That will just naturally bring you happiness through finding genuine gratitude for your things and for what you have. So there you go. There's another little bonus out of this I wasn't even expecting to give you, but why not? I'm going to do it anyway. So there's your bonus. There's your perspective. There's your reflection for today. So really hope you enjoyed it. Please throw down in the comments what stands out for you in that reflection. What do you like about this? What are just some perspectives you've had around this on finding happiness, looking for something else instead to be the point rather than just happiness? Would love to hear those other perspectives because they can just be great lessons for all of us. Somebody else could really learn from it, myself included. So please throw them down in the comments. That would be great. If you're struggling with what I've been talking about and not feeling like it's making any sense, you want to get more to the space but don't know how, I do recovery coaching. And I'd be happy to chat with you and see if there's a way that I can help coach and work through this with you to do some reframing and education around this and how you can incorporate it more in your recovery. Okay? So please reach out to me. Contact info is in the description. So take a look there. And there's a lot more in the description too. Please peruse through it. We've got a lot of other resources on there and ways that Spotlight Recovery can support you. And then also ways that you can support Spotlight Recovery. So take a look, see what you find. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more tools down there that are useful for you. And just thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed today's reflection. Wishing you a blessed 24 in recovery, being able to find some other peace and purpose in your movement today besides just happiness. So get out there and enjoy it, and we'll see you again tomorrow.